Morning, Matt. Yes, so just briefly touching on my background, I spent the last sort of 15 or 16 years predominantly in the food production and services arena. I set up a handful of businesses and sold them on in the UK and South Africa, and then also was involved in the production facility, the Sidious and Stone Fruit export packing facility in South Africa. And we ran various programs around the world. And set up another business, sold that 6 years later before immigrating back to the UK. And that's purely my sort of background from that stage. And I met Opulentia Capital back in 2019, and we got involved with UK Salads and made the acquisition March last year. And that's where really it grew teeth. Just to give you a brief background on UK Salads, it's a 30-acre site based in Essex, and we grow capsicums, aubergines, cucumbers, and we also import the same plus tomatoes from Europe and North Africa as well. And we are one of the top 6 largest suppliers of those cultivars in the surrounding supermarkets in the UK. And we have roughly 30 acres, half of that is under glass. And it's about 150 staff, and the company was started in 1968 by the family's father, who came over from Sicily. So a lot of history behind it, a very emotional process, and that's UK Salads. It's a brilliant company, and pleased to be involved in it.
Yep. And when you went on to about approaching UK Salads, I guess what kind of steps were taken in order to facilitate that succession plan? You mentioned, it's an emotional thing, right? Obviously it is. What kind of like measures were taken in order to facilitate that?
Yeah. So, myself, having come from a performing background as well, one thing you don't realize is fresh produce. You have to live and breathe it. It's not just a business that switches off at 5 o'clock at night and you go home and do your thing. This business started in 1960. Their father was involved. As teenagers, they were involved in the business as well. So, it's extremely emotional. And when you start dealing with in a surrounding like that, your staff, they are your team, but they are more your extended family. So for them, it was really, it needed a delicate pair of hands. And that's exactly what Opulentia Capital gave them, was creating a sense of finesse around how to handle it. It's very much a case of addressing the fear and uncertainty when you purchase a company like that as well. A lot of people always jump to the worst case conclusion that their jobs are unsecure. Because of that, well, who's going to pay the mortgage? What about my kids, et cetera, et cetera. And it really is a case of getting in there, getting to know people, listening to the concerns, observing, understanding the relationships, and molding it, and not putting any change into the process at all. You're not there to create or be change agents. You're there to facilitate a smooth process. And the only way to do that is to understand the people and the team, and also just to really concentrate on building relationships. It's about getting that trust through. So in the first 3 or 4 months, you're not there to change anything. You're there to listen, observe, and really become almost a counselor. And from there, you get to know the staff, the clients, and you're able to mold the process forward. And I think it's very much a case of developing the talents from within and acknowledging who is there. I think you give them the platform for growth, you invest in them. You give them the training, the nurturing, the mentoring, and you'll be amazed at what they can actually accomplish. And by doing that, you always identify talent within the company, but you might also identify talent that isn't perhaps there from a more macroeconomic perspective. So, Opulentia Capital surrounds themselves with an excellent array of industry experts, and if need be, are able to bring them in, whether it be top CEOs or CFOs or chairmen with extensive experience. That is on tap, and ultimately it's about concentrating on the legacy of the company. I think from the sellers' perspective, there were 6 of the sellers, 3 husband and wife teams.
Yep.
Everything went really smoothly. The succession term was meant to be circa 9 months, and we actually whittled that down to between 3 and 5 months, and everyone left on very amicable terms. And we still pick up the phone to each other and just have a general chat about holidays or whatever it might be. Yeah. And I think purely from a KPI perspective, since Opulentia Capital got involved, if you look at the main proud moment is that not one staff member left the team. since we got involved, or Opulentia got involved. And that's an absolute bonus. Also, the turnover was grown by 11% since acquisition, operating profit by 27%. And we also doubled our Britishness from a glasshouse perspective. And, that feeds directly into food miles being reduced. And also we are embarking upon a highly ambitious sustainability program. And we are about to embark upon that, and that's going to have a tremendous benefit as well.
Yeah. And for any worried business owners that are, just worried about selling to Opulentia Capital, what would be your comments on what they would be experiencing? Obviously, we've got the case study with UK Salads, but I think, being able to handheld them along the process is something that we really want to focus on. Could you maybe make a quick comment on that?
Sure, no problem. So I'll probably touch on it briefly earlier, but it's really, I think if you have to put it into a nutshell, there's probably a lot of rogue operators out there making false promises. You never really know what they're going to do with your company. They'll say one thing, and then eventually they might have the opportunity to be the new owners and break it apart, and legacy is affected, etc. So, I think from Opulentia Capital's perspective, they are not that. They are, they really bring a certain abundance of integrity and professionalism to the table. And ultimately, they do what they say. And that's what it's about, is trust. And there's a huge focus, as I mentioned earlier, on the people. Without people, there is no business. And developing the talents from within and having that network on tap to address any sort of strategic issues. And I think beyond that, it's really, they bring an abundance of energy and enthusiasm to the table, and they are generally passionate about what they do, and that ultimately trickles down to the team and promotes a great culture. And I think at the end of the day, the reason we all are involved in business is because we enjoy what we do, and ultimately that's what life is about.